Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Sunday, October the 30th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, ready for the Sunday NHL slate. Five games today in NHL action. Before we get to that, we'll do a look back on what we saw on Saturday. And we started the day with a pretty wild and entertaining game with the Rangers and the Stars. Not sure any of us anticipated 9 goals with Jake Ottinger and Igor Shesterkin starting out as the goaltending matchup in that game, but definitely surprising to see 9 goals, although an injury to Jake Ottinger early in that game, replaced by Scott Wedgwood, kind of changed things a little bit for the course of that game. But give the Rangers credit, a team that had scuffled the last few games, needing a bounce-back performance, and they certainly were able to deliver that with the 6-3 win, an explosion really in the third period from the New York Rangers to get the victory there in that game. And we saw Florida with a bounce back against Ottawa. They snapped a losing streak with a 5-3 win over the Senators. That Shane Pinto money train with his goal scorer prop keeps on rolling as well. Another nice plus 375 winner with that. So just keep riding him right now to score goals seems to be a good decision. How about Tampa Bay? For those that had Tampa in regulation, my goodness, a last-minute winner to get the victory over the San Jose Sharks by a score of 4-3. I actually ended up betting small the Lightning in regulation. I know Alex had the team total over 3.5. So very nice to see a late game-winning goal from the Lightning in that game. One of the shocking results of the day, Montreal putting a 7 spot, scoring a touchdown, kicking the extra point as well against the St. Louis Blues, 7-4. What a debacle it was for the Blues. Just piss poor puck management in that game. They end up losing 7-4. Carolina comes back to beat, even in defeat, the hard-trying Philadelphia Flyers, who fell behind and battled back and actually took the lead. But Carolina tied it late and then won in overtime. But the Flyers' effort every single game still seems to be very, very solid in that one. Buffalo roars back from a third-period deficit to a 3-1 deficit going into the third. They scored 2 in the third, and Tage Thompson had an incredible night for the Sabres, showing why they're paying him the bigger bucks, because he was the guy that spearheaded that comeback. And then they get the Victor Olofsson power play goal in overtime for the 4-3 win against Chicago. I was on the over, so happy to see that come through. The Detroit Red Wings, 2-1 victory over Minnesota. See, that's what Detroit's going to be capable of doing every now and then. We know this team's is a little bit better this year. Gone through a little bit of a tough week, losing to New Jersey and Boston. But boy, what a performance last night from Ville Husso in net. And the Red Wings were able to make it stand up with a 2-1 victory over the Wild, who did have Philip Gustafsson. But hey, can't blame Philip Gustafsson too much. No. You score only 1 goal, you're not going to win too many hockey games. Washington shuts out Nashville. It serves me right for trust in Nashville just because they beat St. Louis and Thomas Greiss, the backup, on a back-to-back. They were not. And look, Washington suffered some key injuries in that game as well. TJ Oshie left that game. John Carlson left that game. They were down a defenseman, down a forward, and still Washington puts a shutout on the road against Nashville. So terrible stuff there from the Preds. Terrible stuff from Pittsburgh. Thought it was a good spot, good situation, and they still cannot get the job done. A wretched road trip for the Pittsburgh Penguins mercifully comes to an end. They lose 3-1. Great battle of Alberta once again. Oilers and Flames, 3-2 Oilers in that game. Nice, great performance by McDavid in the third period. Markstrom, one of his better performances even in a losing effort against the Oilers that he's had, albeit the tying goal was just one that can't go in. It was just a little bit of a fumble of the puck behind the net. McDavid capitalized and just shot it right away from the boards area. Markstrom just wasn't set. Bad goal to give up, which is unfortunate because it's a little bit of a blemish on what was a really good outing from Markstrom. And Skinner, outstanding again for the Edmonton Oilers in victory. Man, like I said, I think Jay Woodcroft's in a spot now where he's got to keep starting this guy. He's the hot hand right now for the Edmonton Oilers in net. and a great game from Connor McDavid. No question about that. So we'll see if the Oilers will go back to Skinner again moving forward, but a nice win there. And we have to bring this up as well. Actually, we'll save it for the recap at the end of my recap here when we bring Alex in for his thoughts. But I will wrap it up with the thing that pissed me off most last night is someone with Colorado as a best bet on the show. Oh, boy, my goodness, something you just do not expect to see happen to a team like the Colorado Avalanche. A 3-1 lead goes by the wayside, and they end up losing 5-4. It ended up 5-3, actually, and then they got a late goal after it looked like the Islanders had already put it away with the empty net. Just a despicable loss for Colorado to lose that way. And look, that's 2 games now without Big Val Nichushkin, and they've lost both of them against New Jersey and the Islanders. And look, he was the guy leading them in goals as well, going into these last 2 games prior to his injury. So it is a big loss. You would think the Avs still have the depth to overcome it, but they have not been able to. And certainly the defense let them down in the third period last night. And before we get to Alex's thoughts, how much I love Daryl Sutter, right? You absolutely know that. I think he is not only a great coach, multiple Stanley Cup champion. In Calgary, he's done great things with this team already in 2 years. He's one of the best press conferences to listen to. He might have topped himself. We know we've had legendary, classic Daryl Sutter moments throughout the course of his coaching career. I think we might have topped it here last night with what we heard from Daryl Sutter. A question was asked, what happened to Jonathan Huberdeau in the first period? He left the bench area. And this was Daryl Sutter's typical stoic face, stone face, deadpan response. Check this out. Let me see if we can get the sound.
Yeah, they unmute.
Hold on, here we go.
Huberdeau left the bench for a little bit in the first period. Are you able to say what it was?
I think he'd go take a shit.
Huberdeau left.
Let's repeat that one more time.
Are you able to say what it was?
I think he'd go take a shit.
Huberdeau left the bench for a little bit in the first period. Are you able to say?
I think he'd go take a shit.
Huberdeau left the bench for a little bit.
Oh my goodness! How good is that right there?
That's amazing.
Yeah. I had to go take a shit. It's not I was getting my stick taped up or my skates repaired, or no, just not. Or he could have even just said, "Not feeling well." Just had to go to the dressing room. Catch his breath. See maybe he's lightheaded or something. No, he had to go take a shit. He had a number 2. Oh my gosh, Daryl Sutter never changed. You are a beauty.
Very few guys in this league keep it real like Daryl Sutter does. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. He is by far one of the best coaches for press conferences. He's going to give you everything you want to know.
Yeah,
everything.
Exactly. That's what I said on Twitter. Like, it's basically the stuff you didn't need to know, but you hear about it anyway. That's basically a Daryl Sutter right there talking about a little washroom break for Jonathan Huberdeau in the first period last night. That guy is classic. And you know what put that whole statement and that quote over the top? What he said there, I think you got to go take a shit. And he had the stoic face the whole time. Like, he's not even a little wry smile, no little grin or anything. Just stoic, just serious, just deadpan face the whole fucking time he's saying it. That's the best part of it.
Yeah, it was great. That was great. I'm glad you had that clip loaded up because I saw that late last night and was cracking up laughing.
Yeah. Great Daryl Sutter. Like I say, that's must-see television. I mean, every Flames post-game, I'm looking for those post-game press conferences at Daryl Sutter. I'm there every single time. Alex, thoughts on the card from yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, we'll start. Well, I mean, like I said, there was just a lot. We'll start with that early game because I watched pretty much most of that, the Dallas and the Rangers. That 3-goal stretch where the Rangers pretty much put the game away, that's the marker. And that needs to kind of be the blueprint for how the Rangers play throughout the season, and definitely once they get into the playoffs. Because when they turn that offense on, they get that pinpoint passing down to a crisp like they did in that sequence, they are unstoppable. They are, like I said, as good as, if not, especially right now without Nichushkin, better than Colorado offensively. When they have all their ducks in a row and everybody's healthy, they are lethal. And that game was actually fairly close, even with Wedgwood and net. having to come in, I think maybe like 5 minutes into the second period, basically. And keep in mind, Shesterkin got clipped from behind and looked like he might have had to leave the game early in the first period, too. So that was a real kind of back-and-forth game, a lot of physical battles. It was a fun one to watch. And the Rangers, we talked about how they couldn't get their offense rolling. The last 5 games that they had lost, they had 5 goals total. Well, they come back and put 6 up in one night. So, like I said, can't count them out. Colorado Avalanche, very disappointing. I did have a play on them. Gave it out on the show, and take a big lead. I expect them to bounce back after getting shut out and having Georgiev and net against the Islanders, a team he's played well against, and then the wheels just completely came off of them. Just a really rough spot. Like I said, without Big Val, this team looks a bit lost. And I mean, yes, he had an incredible postseason last year, but I didn't think he was going to emerge to be, as important as a Landeskog or McKinnon. He's right there with those guys. And so it looks like his contract is definitely worth his weight for sure. They definitely need him back as soon as possible. And the Pittsburgh Penguins, Martin Jones, who we've, shitted on for a long time on this program, he stood on his head in that second and third period last night. It wasn't so much that Pittsburgh laid an egg. He played a wonderful game. That's probably the best I've seen him in net in a very, very long time, probably since his LA and early San Jose days. So you got to give credit where credit's due on that point. Buffalo and Chicago was an interesting game I watched a little bit of. Pushed on the first period over a 2. That was my best bet on the show. Could have easily gotten that. There was a ton of power play chances in that first period and a lot of scoring chances for both teams. Arvid Soderblom held his own. He made 41 saves in the game, and of course going in, a few minutes in overtime. So 63 minutes worth of action. Making 41 saves, only giving up 4 goals. That's not bad. Last year, he would have probably given up 8 or 9 if he was facing 41 shots. So maybe there's a little bit of improvement there. I'm still not going to sign him off as a true NHL backup just yet, but and a good win for Buffalo coming back home. And Minnesota, I mean, at least they're committing to defense. They're going to have clunkers like that where they won't get the offense rolling, but they committed to defense, kept the game close. Detroit puts away. If you had Detroit puck line, I feel bad for you. There was 2 wide open empty net chances that the Wings whiffed on late in that third period. But now you get the Hawks and Wild meeting up in Chicago tonight, back to back, and both teams off of a loss. Should be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, but that was one of those bane of Alex D. Smith's existence moments there, because he's been very agitated over the years about these scenarios where these players miss these wide open.
Like 5 years now, 5 years where we see these guys, and at least we're not seeing them intentionally chip the puck toward the right toward the blue line dasher, and then they're actually going for the net and still missing it. It's like, if I'm a coach and you miss an empty net like that, I'm having you shoot at 50 empty nets the next day in practice. It's just simple as that.
No,
You
I
can't
agree
miss
with
those.
that. Yeah, no question. And definitely a situation right now where, that's as frustrating as it gets for anybody that's betting a puck line, where, you get the wide open net. Should be something you're able to capitalize on. And it's you're rushed. You feel like, and I think you just overthink it sometimes. And it's just incredible. I still remember the one from over a decade. It had to have been 15 years ago. Christ, Alesh Hemsky was still playing in the league. Alesh Hemsky for the Oilers. That's how long ago it was when Dallas, they missed the empty net with 20 seconds to go. Guy falls down just on the backhand. It's wide open there, and he pushes it wide. Edmonton goes right down, and with 5 seconds left, scores the tying goal.
That's one of the craziest sequences in hockey history. I don't think we'll ever see that again, to be honest.
Yeah, that was incredible. You talk about how the missing a wide open net can get you to pay the price, and boy, they paid the price for it that night. The Dallas Stars in Edmonton. That was a long time ago.
That was back in the day when Dallas and Edmonton were actually rivals. Those were some great meetings from the early '90s all the way until the 2000s.
Yeah, exactly. They were, and it was definitely a great job by them to Edmonton to tie that game, but thanks to a wide open net that was missed. That I still remember that to this day. That's the one that I always think of when I'm talking about these players missing an empty net late in a hockey game. All right, Columbus, New Jersey, as we get the Sunday 5-game card breakdown underway. We've got New Jersey minus 210, home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. We don't know who's in net yet for the Devils. We assume it will be Vanacek. He is the guy that started the back-to-back games for the Devils. They won both games in Detroit and then against the Colorado Avalanche. And he was very good, obviously, against Colorado. When you shut out the Avalanche, you're clearly doing something right. And there's no doubt it was a terrific performance in net from Vanacek in that game. The Devils, will see if they can keep up this recent strong play that they have had the last couple, not just the last couple of games, but 5-1 their last 6 games. So we're seeing a lot of good things right now from the New Jersey Devils. No question about that. The Blue Jackets, not so much. Just very disappointing considering that they had just lost to Arizona at home 6-3. You would have expected an inspired, strong effort to bounce back from that kind of loss, and they get blanked 4-0 by the Boston Bruins on Friday night. The offense certainly didn't work, and in fact, now that's 3 goals in the last 2 games from the offense, and the defense continues to just, it's a sieve right now, at the defensive end of the ice for the Blue Jackets. They give up 4 to Boston, 6 to Arizona, 6 to Pittsburgh. They did only give up 1 to the Rangers, but that looks like an anomaly when you look back on it, and they still gave up 31 shots in that game. They've had a tough time keeping the puck out of their own net. That also explains why for the season so far, in terms of over-under, they're 6-3 out of the over so far this year. Palat looks like he is going to miss this game once again for the Devils. Mackenzie Blackwood's been dealing with an upper body injury, so there's questions, will he be available here for this game to start? If I'm the Devils, I'm hoping not, because my thoughts about him right now. Just not playing well for the Devils. This is a game I'm probably going to end up passing on. The only thing I'm considering is the Devils team total over 3.5. I do think they could get 4 against this obviously struggling and reeling the Blue Jacket team, because they are just giving up goals in bunches right now. No question about that. And sometimes when you see these teams coming off a 1-0 type of game, more often than not, you're going to end up seeing, a little bit at least of more of a higher scoring game the next time out. And it is worth noting, with the head-to-head series history with these two teams, 4 of the last 5 games rather have all gone over 6.5. So we've had 4-4-3 final scores in the last 5 meetings between the Blue Jackets and Devils. So lean to the Devils team total over and the full game over, but I might go more Devils team total if it's Vanacek. That's my thought. I prefer the team total if we see him in that, because he's in good form right now. And that's not a guy I'm thinking, let's bet the full game over with him in net. And we saw Columbus obviously get shut out in their last game, 2.4 goals against average, 889 save percentage for Vanacek. But his last 3 starts, he has given up 3 goals or less for the New Jersey Devils. He had the one bad start against Detroit back on October 15th, and outside of that, he's been a lot better. So if Vanacek's in net, I probably prefer the Devil team total over. If it's Blackwood in net, if he's available from that and to come back from that upper body injury, and Lindy Ruff decides to start him, then I might go with the full game over 6.5 in this game instead. So that's where I'm at, but I haven't locked anything in just yet. Prop-wise, Fabian Zetterlund has been moved up to the top line. You can consider maybe a goal scorer prop with him. We always like those kind of situations. For Columbus, I still say Kent Johnson, who's going to play on the second line, is someone that has been making an impact. He had his goal streak snapped against Boston when they got shut out, but prior to that, he had scored in consecutive games. So I wouldn't mind coming back to the well with Kent Johnson for the Blue Jackets and a goal scorer prop bet in this game early this afternoon. Alex, what do you think here at Columbus, New Jersey?
Yeah, this is going to be a pass for me. Like I said, New Jersey is in somewhat better form off of the win with Colorado, but you wonder about a letdown there. Columbus has dominated in the series. They've won 21 of the last 26 meetings. So, that's something that goes back a ways. And talking about mostly bad teams kind of on both sides, to truly be honest. So this is just one I'm going to pass. Except I can even look at the team total with New Jersey. You said Vanacek being in net, that's a bigger upgrade. But 3.5, you got to lay $1.25. There's a couple other things I like on the board more, so it's a clear pass for me.
All right, clear pass here for Alex B. Smith. All right, Minnesota Wild, Chicago Blackhawks. Another one of these Sunday afternoon affairs here in the Windy City. Minnesota minus 215, road favorites, 6 the total. This I have locked in, especially with the 6s that are out there. And there are a couple of books that have a 6 with the total. I like this one over the total here. Chicago over the total again. We talked about Chicago overs, Alex, coming into the season, and they're starting to live up to that billing, aren't they, right now with that those overs. The Seattle game last Sunday, remember that was an early Sunday afternoon game. We had a friggin' shootout in that game, 5-4, Seattle and Chicago. The Edmonton game earlier this week with Chicago was up and down the ice, went over the total. Buffalo last night looked like it had stagnated a little bit in the second period, but Buffalo comes back to win that game and pushes that game up and over the total as well. So they're an over machine right now, the Blackhawks. They are scoring goals, but they are obviously surrendering goals in bunches as well. Alex Stalock in net after he was given the day off yesterday, first of the back-to-back. They went with Soderblom, who didn't actually play that bad last night for the Blackhawks in that game last night. But back to Stalock in net for this one this afternoon. This is it's actually a 7 p.m. Eastern game, 6 p.m. Local time or start in Chicago. So it's not a true afternoon game. It's more like a very, very early evening game here for the Wild and the Blackhawks tonight. And for the Hawks, or for the Wild rather, you would expect Marc-Andre Fleury to be in net here, facing his former team, obviously, was with the Blackhawks prior to that trade yesterday. He's been better lately, Marc-Andre Fleury. There's no question about that, but I could see Minnesota in a game where they got shut down. And look, most of the season, Alex, where have the adjustments been for Minnesota after a loss and after a game? It's been on the defensive end of the ice, because that's usually been where they've lost games. Last night, it was the offense that got shut down. So what do I expect today? Let's get our offense going again. Certainly a team defensively that will often let you get your offense going, that being Chicago. So over 6 -120 at DraftKings. Here is what you can find with this total, which is great. I mean, there's a lot of 6.5s. Make sure you shop around. But DraftKings does have over 6 -120 right now with this total. I like that for sure. And, the ability to get a 6 just in case we see 3-2 or 4-2, I should say, or that kind of a final score, or 5-1 is always good. So 6 -120 over for me with Minnesota, Chicago. Alex, what do you think here? Wild Blackhawks.
Yeah, this is one of those, as I call, dreaded 6 o'clock Sunday starts. And the Hawks, historically, this is going back years and years, even during the dynasty run with the Cups, they've been terrible in these spots. And when you look at how the Hawks were playing a bunch of home games, had to fly to Boston, get on the road, and come right back and now play a division rival that always, the Wild always get geared up for the Hawks, no matter how good or bad they are. And the Wild also coming off of a back-to-back with a loss, except where the offense wasn't rolling. This screams first period over to me, and I like full game over too if you can find that 6 instead of DraftKings. But even that 1.5 minus $1.40, which I'm seeing $1.40s, $1.45. So like I said, shop around for sure. I really like this over. I think that's a decent price and a great number. I think we're going to see both offenses trade back and forth. Like I said, Fleury has been better, but I still want to see the first period has kind of been his Achilles heel throughout the games. He's gotten stronger as the game goes on. The Hawks can get one, and we know the Wild, I definitely feel like they can get one, if not two. So I probably might even look at taking a shot with Minnesota puck line as well. That's more of a lean, but I really love this first period over here, Wild and Hawks. Wild have just been absolutely lights out with the first period over. They got it done last night. They had 1.5. Like I said, you really got to shop these 1.5s. And with the Wild, they're one of those teams that I have circled high enough to where I don't mind laying the 140, 145, 150 juice as opposed to going on 2. I'd rather take them and lay that juice as opposed to some other teams where I feel a little more comfortable just riding with the 2. And if I push, I get out of there and get my money back.
All right, good stuff there. Like an over 1.5. We'll lay the juice in this one with the over 1.5 first period. I'm going to actually bet and add it as a play as well. The Minnesota in regulation -128 is at Pinnacle for Minnesota in regulation. I think that's a good price there in that spot. And Minnesota off the loss too against Detroit. I think a good bounce back situation. And Fleury, I know it didn't go well in Chicago. I'm sure he had nothing with no problems with teammates or anything, but still, I mean, it ended up being a big disaster, his experiment going to the Chicago Blackhawks. So I think beating this team would be something he'd be wanting to do that.
And one key on the flip side, Alex Stalock most likely getting the start net for the Hawks. Not only is this his former team, this is also his hometown team. He's 2-0 with a .920 save percentage and a 1.96 goals against. But when he played against the Wild in the preseason, and that was mostly the Wild starters, he got lit up here in St. Paul. So keep that in mind too. I mean, like I said, that former team angle goes both ways, but I think it's a lot stronger with Fleury than it's with Stalock.
Yeah, absolutely. Props, Domi and look, I cashed in with Radish last
Yeah,
night for
real
the
nice.
Chicago Black.
Mhm.
He's starting to get it going. I'd go back to Radish tonight. Domi's never a bad option. And for Minnesota, it's Boldy and Rossi for me. I continue to think these guys get chances. And on a night where they only scored 1 goal in Detroit, I think there's a good chance we get either of those two guys finding the back of the net here tonight for the Minnesota Wild.
And you know what? And look, maybe Seth Jones for an assist. I know he had one last night. He's been kind of chipping in a little bit more points wise. That's somebody I might want to dabble with potentially too.
Yeah, no question about that. All right, Toronto, Anaheim. Next up, we've got the Leafs here, minus 180 as they end this long Western road trip tonight. 6.5 the total in this game. Man, I ain't laying $1.80 with the Leafs right now. That is for sure. But boy, you talk about you're not going to get all your preseason prognostications on teams correct. And man, it's looking like a big fat disappointment right now with the Anaheim Ducks, who I thought would be a lot better and still sitting on just one victory on the season. Not good for Anaheim. 1-7 entering this game. See if they can bounce back here. They certainly have the rest advantage. They played in Vegas on Friday, and now they get the Leafs on the second of back-to-back games with Eric Shalgren in net, which is no shock whatsoever. This was the plan all along. I don't get why Sheldon Keefe started him, though, in the San Jose game. Okay, he had a couple of days off. Samsonov was playing very well. And, I'm not blaming Shalgren for the loss, but it makes the team think that this is going to be easy street playing San Jose when you put your backup in there. You're putting your backup in there because it's San Jose. It's supposed to be a team you think you can beat, and you let your players think that way, that, it's just going to be easy. We're just going to step on the ice and beat the San Jose Sharks. Especially with the fact that it was not a back-to-back. I would have put Samsonov in net Thursday against San Jose, but he didn't do that. He put Shalgren in. Obviously, Samsonov played last night, and they hung him out to dry. I mean, that was pretty weak from the Leafs all around. I mean, defensive play, breakdowns, turnovers. They're ready to basically ship Justin Hall off to Siberia here right now, the Leaf fans in Leaf Nation, for his blunders, which seem to happen every single game right now. It's just been absolutely tough to watch on this road trip. I mean, so they desperately need some good vibes. They need something good to happen. You see that the superstar players are not putting the puck in the net right now. Even Nylander's cooled off after a nice start. Marner's not giving you much. Austin Matthews is still just sitting on 2 goals this year. It's really something that the big guns for the Leafs, they've been shut down. They're struggling at the moment. You would think this is the perfect opponent to get right against. A lot of teams are getting right against Anaheim, but I've just got my reservations about doing it here, especially on the long road trip. We saw Pittsburgh at the end of a long, struggling road trip. We thought, maybe bounce back. You want to salvage a road trip, salvage a win at the end of a kind of a disappointing road trip. Pittsburgh wanted to. Pittsburgh couldn't. So that tells me, it's no given that Toronto is going to be able to right the ship tonight, even against a reeling Anaheim team. So we'll see how this one plays out. All I know is we had Shalgren in net against San Jose. What did we see in that game? We saw goals. We saw that game go over the total. We saw the Arizona game when Shalgren started. They lost that game as well. He's 0-2 this year, 3.5 goals against average, .857 save percentage. And it's not that he's been bad. It's that he's not quite at the level where he can bail out defensive mistakes in front of him. And, man, we've seen a lot of those lately on this road trip from the Leafs. So I think the over's in play here. 6.5. I'm waiting for goalie confirmations on the Anaheim side, but right now that would be the way I'd play it. I'd stay off the side, look over the total here. Alex, what do you? Or I'd honestly take a shot with the Ducks, quite honestly, before I lay minus 180 with Toronto. But even then, they're reeling even more than Toronto is right now. What do you think here, Alex? Toronto, Anaheim.
Yeah, this screams over, especially with Shalgren and net and Anaheim's just defensive woes right now. But 6.5 laying juice, or you even seeing a 7 right now? It's a tad bit steep. I could possibly try to wait and get a better price in game, but I don't know. We might see a goal here too early to the point where we can't grab that. So this is more likely going to be a pass for me. Leafs, you want to see can they wrap up what's been a kind of rough trip with a win here. But like I said, they just can't count on them right now, and definitely at this high of a price. You're even laying juice with regulation most likely. So this would be a pass.
All right, pass for Alex here in this one. All right, New York Rangers, Arizona Coyotes now. Next up, the second game in Mullet Arena. We've got the Rangers minus 200. The total 6.5 in this one. Friend of the show, he was on the show with us last year during the playoffs. He'll be joining us again later this year. Eddie Lack apparently was at the Arizona game the other night against the Winnipeg Jets, the first home game there for the Coyotes in their new arena. We'll see how this one plays out on the second game at Mullet Arena tonight with the Rangers and Coyotes. Certainly back-to-back for the Rangers. Big win against the Dallas Stars. Yaroslav Halak should be in net tonight. Not confirmed, but you would expect that after Shesterkin got the nod yesterday for them against Dallas in that 6-3 win. For the Coyotes, Connor Ingram has been confirmed as the starting goalie, giving Karel Vejmelka a little bit of a break. It's not been great, I guess you could say, for Ingram in his 2 starts. 4.03 goals against, .871 save percentage in 2 outings for him with the Coyotes this year. So that's not great. The Rangers, I think team total is kind of interesting to me. I'd probably want to stay off the Rangers money line, Rangers regulation, Rangers puck line, because if it's Halak and net, you know how we sometimes say Yaroslav Shalakt instead of Yaro Halak, because he's been shellacked a couple of times this year. And the last time we saw him in net for the Rangers, it was a 5-1 victory for the Columbus Blue Jackets last Sunday. But I do think the Rangers here, again, when they get the offense going, and that was really an emphasis and a focal point after being shut out by the Islanders on Wednesday, they got it going against a very good Dallas team. So the over 3.5 kind of interests me here with the Rangers. Tricky game because you got them on the back-to-back, a team that's, not going to incite a lot of teams. And Arizona got badly outplayed by Winnipeg as that game went on, and yet they still only lost in overtime of that game. So I think it's a tricky game. It's a slight lean for me to the Rangers team total over in this one, but more of a game that I'll probably look at in terms of the prop market and goal scorer props. When I look at the Rangers goal scorer props here in this game, we've talked about Capo Caco a lot, being on that top line, but we've got some interesting moves here. Hedl out, Vitaly Kravtsov got injured against Dallas yesterday. And Alexei Lafreniere now on the second line. That might give you an opportunity there to look in his direction. For Arizona, if you're going to trust someone, I still say Dylan Guenther's your guy. Dylan Guenther's trying to prove himself to stay with Arizona after his 9-game rookie tryout runs out. And then the Coyotes and all teams after the 9 games, they've got to make a decision on their rookies, whether they stay with the team or whether they get sent back down. And Dylan Guenther's making a strong case right now to stay with Arizona beyond his 9-game period to start the year. 2 goals, 1 assist. He's been noticeable in a lot of these games. So if you're looking for the prop value for Arizona, goal scorer wise, Guenther at plus 400 to plus 450 in some spots would be that, in my opinion. Alex, Rangers, Coyotes.
This is one I really love for that first period over. Shop around for this. If you find that some 1.5 at 140, 145, anything higher than that, I would probably look to maybe, and same thing with the Wild and Hawks. If you see both those prices higher at your books, maybe go a half unit and grab the 2 or parlay them together, honestly. And I don't do that often, but I know a lot of people like to parlay these first period overs when they get to higher juices. But I like both of these a lot. This one is particularly because the biggest thing that I noticed from the first game at Mullet Arena, and even before the game started, Christian Fischer actually said this quote. He says, "I've never played in a rink with boards this fast." And sure enough, what did he come out and see? He gets the first 2 goals in Mullet Arena history for the Coyotes. We saw back and forth. That really could have been a 3-2 first period with Winnipeg. And Winnipeg's not exactly an offensive juggernaut. But now you got a Rangers team that's coming off of, like I said, an incredible display of offense late in the third period to put away Dallas. And they have Yaroslav Halak in that, and Arizona's going with Connor Ingram. This could easily be a 2-2 game. So I for the show, I'm going to say go with the first period over 2 at plus 125 for the value. But definitely shop around. You should be able to grab that 1.5 at 140 or 145. I think both of them are fine bets. We should see at least 3 goals, if not more, in this first period. I think it's going to be really back and forth. A fun one to watch for sure.
I'm going to throw together a little 3-game first period over 1.5 parlay on this card. And I'm going to actually go ahead. I'll make it official. I'm betting it, so anything I bet is official, you could say. But yeah, I'm going to go with a 3-game over 1.5 first period parlay. And I'm going to do it with the Minnesota-Chicago game. I'm going to do it with the Toronto-Anaheim game. And I'm going to do it with this game, Rangers and Coyotes, and end up getting, pretty decent price with all three of those. So I think that's a good call there. I think they all could hit an over 1.5, honestly, in the first period, all three of those games. Let me just check this out here, what we've got here. I'm going to just pop it. I'm just going to put it in the old calculator right now, and we're going to see what kind of overall parlay odds we get with it. Hold on one sec. All right, there's the first two. There's Rangers and Coyotes. Here we go. Plus 338. There you go at Pinnacle for over 1.5 3-game parlay there. Minnesota, Chicago, Toronto, Anaheim, New York Rangers, Arizona. Plus 338 right there.
Yeah.
So that's a good price.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely going to sprinkle something on that. All right, final game of this Sunday card, Winnipeg Jets, Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas minus 205 home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. I think Vegas probably wins, and it's the end of a road trip, I believe, for the Jets. I think they go back home, if I'm not mistaken, after this. And Vegas is rolling right now, just dismantled Anaheim on Friday night. I'll tell you what, Bruce Cassidy has these guys playing good hockey both ends of the ice. I mean, defensively, they've been on point, no breakdowns, no loss of coverage, no turnovers with the puck for the most part, sound, steady defensive hockey. And Logan Thompson's been very good in net for this Vegas Golden Knights team. So there's lots to like with the way this team is playing right now. No question about that. Jack Eichel's been solid to begin the year for the Golden Knights. Jonathan Marchessault, Johnny Masserole, as Cherry would call him. Yeah, he's gotten off to a nice start. So there's lots to like with Vegas here right now and the way they're playing. It's the end of a road trip, like I said, for Winnipeg. Although it's not a long road trip. I mean, it's LA, Arizona, and now here tonight. But, it's still a little bit of a tricky spot. But they're playing well. They've won 3 in a row, the Jets, on this road trip. Or they've won 2 on the road trip. They won the last of their homestand earlier this week against St. Louis 4-0. It looks like it hasn't been confirmed yet. But I think we'll probably end up seeing a goaltending matchup of Hellebuck and Thompson tonight in this matchup, which would be one hell of a goaltending matchup if that's indeed the case. And when you look at the way both of them are playing, Hellebuck's gotten off to a very strong start this season for the Winnipeg Jets. No denying that whatsoever. You look at Hellebuck's numbers so far, 2.51 goals against, 925 save percentage. How about Logan Thompson's numbers? After that 4-0 shutout against Anaheim, 29 saves he made in that shutout performance. He really is among the NHL leaders, goals against and save percentage, 1.69. Goals against average, 943 save percentage for Logan Thompson. So Ryguy's basically on to what I think about the total in this game. Under. Yeah, and I'm not a big Now, I'm not betting it because you know what happened the last time I loved an under. It was Florida against Philadelphia earlier this week. And I think that game was like 2-1 in the first 10 minutes. It's just your typical Ian Cameron horseshit luck and just, bad results whenever I like an under. It's uncanny across all sports how this happens to me when I like an under. I think it's a great under. It makes sense. All the logic makes sense. Florida was struggling to score. Philly's pretty good defensively, and they can struggle to score, and yet that game flew over the total. But I still think the under is the way to go in this game. 6.5. I think the Jets, they're going to want to play good, tidy game. The Vegas Golden Knights certainly are playing that way right now. No question about that. If it is Hellebuck and Thompson, you got guys that are in great form in between the pipes. So I lean Vegas in regulation. I may stay off it because the Winnipeg Jets lost badly in Vegas already once this year. I think they want a little redemption and a little paybacks. And they're playing well right now, the Jets. So I'm not in a rush to lay the price with Vegas. I think Vegas is still better than Winnipeg. They'll win this game tonight, but I'm not going to get involved in the side. We'll lean under 6.5. Alex, what do you think here? Jets, Golden Knights.
I'm actually debating and looking at possibly playing this draw at plus 360. I think, like I said, with Winnipeg already being embarrassed in Vegas before, this could be a good goaltending battle. I could easily see this being a 2-2 or 3-3 kind of game going past 60. So I'm going to take a shot here with the regulation draw. I'm trying to find the best prices. I think plus 360 is probably the best thing that's out there. So I'll go with that.
Yeah, this one could be close. Winnipeg's off. Winnipeg is off, rather, an overtime game against the Arizona Coyotes, of course, on Friday night in the first game at Mullet Arena. So, yeah, the under, Eileen, and that draw, we'll see if it's I think it's probably worth a look because I think the Jets are going to want to play a lot better. Remember, that was on a back-to-back. They played Vegas. They beat Colorado the night before, and they just got steamrolled. And Big Siv, by the way, was in net that night, too, for the Winnipeg Jets. Big Siv Dave. He gave up 4 goals in the first period of that game, a game that the Golden Knights ended up winning 5-2. So that played a big part in why Winnipeg was so bad that night. You're probably going to see Hellebuck tonight, and obviously it goes without saying, can't compare Hellebuck to Big Siv Dave Riddick, obviously. So I think a better chance for this to be a closer hockey game, which might mean that Alex's draw could be live here with the Jets and the Golden Knights. All right, great stuff. Great discussion on the Sunday card. It's not the greatest card, I'll admit that. But still, 5 games, find some opportunities, sprinkle a few props, hopefully come out with a profitable Sunday. Of course, lots of NFL as well. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out if you're watching us live on YouTube. We got another great week of shows coming up. We do have a special guest, I believe, joining us on Wednesday this week on the show. Curtis Fraser is scheduled to join us, former pro hockey player. So looking forward to that later this week here on the Ice Guys show. All right, best bets to wrap things up. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for your Sunday best?
We're going to head to the campus of Arizona State University, Mullet Arena, for the New York Rangers Arizona Coyotes game. Going to go first period over 2 plus 125. That's my best bet. Like I said, if you find 1.5, grab that as well. I think this one flies over the 1.5 and the 2, to be honest. You got Halak against Ingram, 2 weak goalies. You got a Ranger team that looked dynamite offensively late in that game, now going into a small shoebox with some fast boards, and that's definitely screams like it's going to be over for the first 20 minutes as well as the game. But we're going to go with that first period over. 2 goals plus 125 with the Blue Shirts and the Yotes tonight.
All right, there we go. Over 2 in the first period with the New York Rangers in Arizona. Best bet for Alex P. Smith. My best bet is going to be, well, hopefully less painful than last night with the Colorado Avalanche blowing that lead against the New York Islanders. We're going to go to the Windy City with the 6s that are available at DraftKings, couple other books. That's a great number for an over in that game. Minnesota, Chicago, over 6, minus 120. That is going to be my best bet for this Sunday NHL card. And that'll wrap things up for this Sunday edition of the show. We appreciate everybody joining us. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. And make sure you check out and consider a subscription to patreon.com/Ice Guys. Just $10 a month. Great content. My next set of power ratings will be out there and posted by tomorrow. We're going to update those every Monday throughout the season. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily Ice Guys card, more bonus video content, including the one we did last week with Jay Rosehill, which was outstanding. So make sure you check all that bonus content and more at patreon.com/Ice Guys, only for $10 a month.
Yeah, Ian's got his rankings coming up on Monday. Mine will be up on Wednesday. Of course, whenever Chris Otto drops his charts, we do just the first period. He's got other charts as well, but the first period numbers we post up. It's usually before Tuesday, before Thursday, and before Saturdays.
There we go. All at patreon.com/Ice Guys. For Alex P. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Monday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.